In your biology class, your final exam is based on several things. You have a lab score, you have 2 major tests, and your score on the final exam. And there's 100 points available for each score. However, and they tell you the weights here for these questions, it says the lab score is worth 25%. Your major tests are each worth 22.5, and your final exam is worth 30%. Calculate the weighted average for the following scores, and then they tell you for each of these categories what your scores are. Here the lab score is 92, your 2 tests are 81 and 93, and then your final exam looks like here is going to be an 85. So the formula that we're going to use is this weighted average formula. We're going to take the sum of the products of each value and its weight. So here it says that your lab, you got a 92, so we're going to take the 92 and we're going to multiply it by its weight, and the lab is worth 25%, so we'll go 0.25. And then we're going to add to that each of your test scores. Here it says on the first test, you got an 81. Each test is worth 22.5%, so 22.5%. If I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, is 0.225. So we have 81 plus 0.225. The second test, you got a 93 on, so we're going to go 93 times 0.225. And then your final exam, an 85, and that's worth 30%. So 85 times 0.30. So that's the sum of the products of each value and its weights. And then we're going to divide that by the sum of the weights. In this case, the weights are the percentages. So here I'm just going to simply add up the 25%, those 22.5%, and the 30%. Now, when you're dealing with percentage questions, if they give you the entire big picture, if they give you every single scenario, so here they're telling you the 100% in terms of how they go about calculating your score, here your denominator is going to be 100%, and if you convert that to a decimal, it's just going to be 1. So when they give you all the 100%, it's not entirely necessary to divide by the entire denominator. However, I think if you just set these questions up the same way every time, you tend to get them right more often. So I'm going to enter this exactly as I see into a calculator to calculate the final score, the final average. So here the student's average turns out to be 87.65. At General Hospital, nurses are given performance evaluations to determine eligibility for merit pay raises. Each supervisor rates the nurses on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest rating. And it looks like there's 4 different categories. There's promptness, record keeping, appearance, and bedside manner. And they tell you the weights. Here it says promptness has a weight of 2, record keeping has a weight of 3, appearance a weight of 1, and bedside manner a weight of 4. So basically they're telling you in this rating that the highest weight is bedside manner. So that's the most important of the 4. Since that's a 4 in terms of the weight, that's twice as important, for example, as the weight of 2 for promptness. It's 4 times as important for the bedside manner as it is for appearance, because the appearance has the weight of 1. So here we need to try to figure out a nurse's rating, and we have the different scores here. It says they get a 9 for promptness, a 7 for record keeping, 6 for appearance, and then 10 for bedside manner. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our weighted average formula. We're going to take each data value, which in this case are these scores, and we're going to multiply them by the weights. So first we'll go promptness. Here the promptness, the nurse had a rating of 9, and the promptness's weight is 2. So we're going to go 9 times 2. Now for record keeping, the nurse had a score of 7, and the weight for record keeping is 3. For appearance, the rating of 6, the weight for appearance is 1, so 6 times 1. And then finally for bedside manner, this nurse got a 10, the highest possible score, and the weight for bedside manner is 4. And since the bedside manner weight is the biggest number of the 4, and this particular nurse got a 10 in bedside manner, it looks like her rating should be, or his rating should be pretty high. So here we're going to divide that by the sum of the weights. So here the weights are going to be the 2, the 3, the 1, and the 4. So take a moment, enter this expression into your calculator using the fraction template, the alpha y equals template, to determine this nurse's rating. So here the nurse's rating turns out to be first a fraction, 17 over 2, and I converted that into a decimal by pressing the math button, the math menu, and then choosing number 2. So here the nurse's rating is an 8.5, 8.5. At Kellenberg, your final grade is based on your 3 trimester averages and your comprehensive exam score. Each trimester is worth 16 2/3%, and the comprehensive exam grade is worth 50%. The final exam, the comp, is half the grade, and each trimester, when you average them out, is also half the grade. So 50% is your trimester average, and 50% is your comp grade. And since there's 3 trimesters, if you take 50 and divide it by 3, that's where the 16 2/3% comes from for each trimester. So now we have these 2 students, we have Jimmy and Lisa, and we need to go about calculating their final average. So letter A for Jimmy. Here, Jimmy had a 75 average for the first trimester, 80 for the second, 83 for the third, and then an 87 on the comp. So when we do these weighted means questions, and they give you a lot of percentages, we have the grades as percentages, we have the weights as percentages. As long as you stay consistent with your notation, you can choose to convert percentages to decimals, or you can keep them as whole numbers. For example, if I take Jimmy's first trimester average, which is 75, and I'm going to write that as the number 75, I'll multiply that by its weight. Well, the first trimester is worth 16 2/3. So here I'm choosing to write these percentages as whole numbers, and I'll show you how that affects your final answer. So Jimmy's first trimester is a 75, and the weight is 16 2/3. Now we'll add his second trimester, which is 80, multiply that by the weight, 16 2/3. Then we'll add the third trimester, 83, times that's weight, or that trimester's weight, 16 2/3. And then we'll add the comp, the final exam score. Here, Jimmy got an 87, and the weight of the final exam is 50. Now I'm choosing to take all these percentages and write them as whole numbers, which is fine as long as you stay consistent. Since I'm writing them as whole numbers, now I have to divide by the sum of the weights, which is 16 2/3, 16 2/3, 16 2/3, and 50 for the comp. Now we have to type this expression into our calculator, and since the entire formula is a fraction, we'll go to option 1 to create a fraction template. But then when we have to type in these mixed numbers, the 16 2/3, here you want to go to alpha y equals, and then you want to choose option 2 for the mixed number template. So take a moment, enter this entire expression into your calculator to calculate Jimmy's average. Here my calculator gave me 499 over 6, and I went to math and option 2 to convert that to a decimal. So here Jimmy's average is an 83.1666, so let's make this an 83.2. So that's Jimmy's weighted average based on the data. Now we'll go about calculating Lisa's average. For Lisa, she had a 93 average for the first trimester times the first trimester's weight, 16 2/3, an 89 average for the second, so that times 16 2/3, an 88 for the third trimester times its weight, 16 2/3, and then for the comp, she got an 81, so plus 81 times 50%. We'll again divide that by the sum of the weights, 16 2/3, 16 2/3, 16 2/3, and 50. Or you can just simply remember that these all represent percentages and they're going to add up to 100. Either way, take a moment, enter this entire expression into your calculator to calculate Lisa's final average. And here we have Lisa's average, 171 over 2, and after I converted that to a decimal, 85.5, 85.5. So we have Jimmy's average of 83.2, Lisa's average of 85.5, and now the question says for letter C, which student do you think a college is more likely to accept and why? And then we have to explain our answer. Well, this is Kellenberg, and 100% of our students get accepted into college, so I think both students have a very good chance of getting into a college. And remember with statistics, you could make numbers say whatever you want them to say, as long as you have the data to back up what your statement is. For example, you could answer the question by saying, I believe Lisa is more likely to be accepted into college because she has the higher overall average, and that's based on fact. Her 85.5 is greater than the 83.2. Or you can make the argument and say, I believe Jimmy is more likely to be accepted into college because his grades demonstrated continued improvement. 75 first trimester, 80 second trimester, 83 third trimester, 87 on the final exam. Lisa, the opposite is true. 93 first trimester, 88 second trimester, went up a little bit third trimester, but then dropped on the final exam. Remember, with statistics, with numbers, you can make them say whatever you want them to say. A restaurant server receives a raise every 6 months if his or her final ranking is above an 85 for the following categories. We have an on-time rating, appearance, energy and passion, and I'm going to drop off this category, customer survey. So that's going to be our fourth category. So we're going to have on-time rating, appearance, energy and passion, and customer survey. And it says each category is ranked from 1 to 100, with 100 being the highest. The final ranking is then determined by using the following weights. So it says for the on-time rating, that receives a weight of 3. For the appearance, that's also a weight of 3. Energy and passion, that gets a rating of 5. And then it looks like the customer survey has the highest weight of 10. Determine if these workers qualify for the raise. So we need to determine for each of these workers if their final ranking is above an 85 based on these scores. So let's go to Lucille first for letter A. Lucille gets a 95 for her on-time rating. So I'm going to take 95, and what I'll do, just like I did for the second question, is keep whole numbers. 95 for on-time rating, and the weight for on-time rating is 3. It says for appearance, Lucille had an 80, so we're going to add 80 times the 3 for the weight of that category. It says for energy and passion, that's going to be 83, so we'll add 83, and that gets a rating of 5, so we'll multiply that by 5. And then finally, we're going to add the customer survey. Here, Lucille got an 86, and that weight, the highest, is 10. So we'll take each category times its weight, we'll add them all up, and then we'll divide by the sum of the weights, which in this case is the 3, the 3, the 5, and the 10. And unlike previous problems where we were given percentages and we didn't have to divide by 100% because 100% is just 1, here we need to divide by the sum of the weights to get the accurate answer. So it looks like here for Lucille, if we type this into our calculator, her overall rating turned out to be an 85.7 after we convert that to a decimal. And here the question said if they score above an 85%. Well, in this case she did. So yes, Lucille does qualify for the raise. Next we have Joey. Joey received a 75 for on-time rating, so we'll take the 75. The on-time rating is 3, so that's our weight. We'll add the 99 for appearance. That also is a weight of 3. 90 for energy and passion times the 5 for that weight. And then finally we'll add the customer survey 83 and the customer survey weight of 10. We'll divide Joey's scores by the sum of the weights, 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 10. Enter this into our calculator, and let's figure out what Joey's rating is. So Joey finished with an 85.8. Again, they need a rating above an 85 to get this raise. So we say, yes, Joey does qualify for this raise. Finally, let's calculate Antoine's score. For Antoine, he received a score of 100 for on time. Multiply that by the weight of 3. 100 for appearance. Multiply that again for the rating of 3 for appearance. 80 for energy and passion, so multiply that by 5. And then 75 for customer survey, and that's the most important. That has the highest weight of 10. So we'll take the sum of the products of each value and its weight. We'll divide those by the sum of the weights, 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 10. We'll do this directly on our calculator, and we'll calculate Antoine's professional ranking. And unfortunately for Antoine, his rating was an 83.3, so he does not qualify. He did not get that 85 or above ranking.